Many students begin IELTS Speaking Part 2 with a little background introduction to the topic. If you do that, you'll probably confuse the examiner. Let's find out what to do instead. Hello, it's Keith from the Keith Speaking Academy and English Speaking Success, where you become, I hope, a more confident speaker of English. In this video, I want to talk you through 3 simple steps that will help you give a fantastic answer in IELTS speaking. And stick around to the end because I'll also give you a sample model answer illustrating these steps and all the tips. Let's do it. Step number 1, make a good, concise start. Concise just means short and to the point. Don't go around the houses. So for example, this question, okay? Describe a tool you use in your home. Don't start like this. So there are many tools in our homes nowadays that help make our lives easier, ranging from electrical appliances like a hairdryer to non-digital tools like a pair of scissors. Pros and cons abound for all of them, but today I want to talk about one tool I often use to help me at work, and that is my computer. Now, apart from being memorized, right, the problem here is that you're confusing the examiner. The examiner may think you've misunderstood the question, and they may start to get frustrated. And trust me, you don't want a frustrated examiner. You want a happy examiner. So the first step to a good Part 2 answer is to begin directly, introduce the person, the place, the thing, or the activity, the event that you are going to talk about. So here I might say, the tool I use in my home that I want to tell you about is my computer. Got it? Now, there are plenty more phrases you can use to start your Part 2 answer in this video. Go and check it out later. Right now, let's get into step number 2. So step number 2, develop your answer. How do we do this? Let me give you some tips on how to do it. Tip number 1, prepare 3 things to discuss. Now, you can use the 3 bullet points on the card, but you don't have to. You can make up your own. IELTS do it. It's super easy. All you do is use the common question words, the when, what, how, who, where, why. Talk about any of those that are appropriate. Okay? So remember, the bullet points are just a guide, but have 3 things you can talk about. Let's take our question from earlier. Describe a tool you use in your home. You can say what it is, what it does, why it's useful, and explain how you feel about it. Now, the mistake that many students make is to just give one phrase or sentence to answer it. So to say what it is, they might say, it was a pair of scissors. Too short. Much better would be to describe it. Think of adjectives, something like this. It's a pair of scissors that I bought several months ago from a local hardware shop. They're quite big and very sharp, and they have plastic handles that makes them easy to use. So you're developing. Second bullet point, say what it does. Don't do this. Well, it can cut paper. They can cut paper. Much better would be to develop this, maybe give some examples and explain something like, well, scissors are normally used for cutting paper, but I guess they can also cut bags, plastic, even wires. I actually bought them because I'm a teacher, so I need to cut up lots of pieces of paper and card to prepare for my classes. Give some examples. Bullet point number 3 was say why it is useful. Don't do this. Well, it's useful for cutting paper. and opening boxes? Because they're sharp. It's not bad, but it could be better if you developed it like this. Well, they're super useful because they save me time, right? It would be pretty hard to cut paper with a knife and maybe dangerous too. So scissors, yeah, are much safer in that sense. Got it? Tip number 2, to help you develop your answer is to be specific. In English, we say the devil is in the details. The details are really important, right? So include specific examples. Give personal feelings, anecdotes. Anecdotes are short stories about your life, the things you tell your friends and family when you get home from work or school. So you make your response, you make your answer more engaging, and you're going to demonstrate more vocabulary with the more detail you go into. Okay. So in the question about the tool, bullet point number 3, it says why. Say why it is useful. You could say something like this. Well, yeah, they are useful for cutting paper and opening boxes because they are sharp. The ones I have, yes, they're easy to use as they have a big handle. Also, anybody in the house can use them. Although we do have to be careful with our baby daughter and make sure they're kept out of her reach so she doesn't cut herself. Can you see? You're starting to tell a little story, reveal things about your life, the kind of thing you would tell a friend, revealing more details. Remember, the devil is in the details. Tip number 3 to help you develop your answer is to use connectors. Connectors are these words that connect your sentences and your ideas. They help everything flow and make sense. Also making it easy for the examiner to follow you. Remember, that will make a happy examiner. You don't want a frustrated examiner. Now, some of the most common connectors are actually signposts. They show what you're going to say. Firstly, on the one hand, on top of that, and finally, and this keeps your answer or your speech coherent, keeping the examiner happy, right? Now, some teachers do say, don't ever use written connectors. Don't say how, say but. Don't say in conclusion, say to sum up. Don't say for instance, say for example, such as. I don't totally agree with that. I think it's fine to use all of those, right, in most speaking situations. It's very hard to say don't ever because it depends on the situation and what you're talking about. It is true, generally speaking, when we speak, we use very simple connectors. Firstly, and, but, so, then, after that, and that's fine. That's how we speak. I think with formal connectors, there are only 2 I would avoid in speaking because they are very formal. And they are, furthermore, nevertheless. They're even difficult to say. So rather than furthermore, just say what's more. And rather than nevertheless, you could say but anyway, right? By the way, another mistake that students make sometimes if they're new to IELTS is they look at the cue card, the bullet points, and as they're giving the answer, they talk or they say the actual bullet point, right? So in the example above, describe a tool, you should say what it is. Don't do this. I'm going to describe a pair of scissors. First, what it is, it's a pair of scissors. Duh. No, right? Think about connectors, make it more coherent. Something like, the tool I'm going to describe is a pair of scissors. First of all, let me tell you a bit more about what it is. Right? Something like that. For the second bullet point, what it does, talking about what it does, Third bullet point, don't just say it, why it is useful. You could say, well, when it comes to why it's useful, I would say So can you see these connectors are making your speech more coherent? easy to follow. Happy examiner. Let's move on. Now, step number 3, give a brief conclusion. So this is not an essential step, okay? This is not IELTS writing where you must have the conclusion. But if you can control your time and you know you're coming to the end of your time, just one simple sentence to wrap it up, to sum it up, can help communication, and just it feels good, but it's not essential. And actually, it really could be something as simple as this. Yeah, so that's it. That's the tool that I regularly use in my home. That's it. Okay, great. Let's move on and have a look at a complete model answer using these tips. So the tool I'd like to tell you about is a pair of scissors. It's a very special pair of scissors that I bought a few weeks ago in a local hardware shop. They're quite big, larger than the normal size, with an extra large ergonomic handle made out of plastic, which makes them really comfortable for using. Yeah, they weren't cheap either, actually. Talking about what they do, well, clearly scissors are used for cutting material like paper, plastic, even wires. As for me, I use them for cutting card and paper. The reason is that I'm a teacher, right? So I spend a lot of time cutting up flashcards and sticking things together. So scissors, yeah, they come in really handy, actually. In fact, I'd go as far as to say they are an essential for me. When it comes to the reason they are useful, well, as I just mentioned, I mean, I use them for work, but they are very useful because they save me time. And also the fact that they are comfortable means that I can use them for a long period of time without any aches in my hand. Also, anybody in the house can use them. Although we do have to be careful with our baby daughter and make sure that, you know, that they are kept out of reach from her so she doesn't cut herself. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. That's the tool I regularly use in my home. Did you see how I'm using the steps and the tips to develop my answer? Did you like that? If you did, could you subscribe to the channel? Give me a like. It helps with the channel. Let's move on. So there you have 3 steps to give an awesome part 2 answer, whatever the topic, right? Step number 1, make a good, concise start. Step number 2, develop your answer. Step number 3, if possible, give a brief conclusion. Do remember, this is not a science. Sometimes you can also just speak out and go with the flow without this structure. It'll probably depend on the question that you get, your life experience, and how confident you are. If you're less confident, follow the structure. If you're more confident, go with the flow. If you want to learn more about giving great Part 2 answers, check out my online course, IELTS Speaking, Crack IELTS Speaking Part 2, link down below. And if you're not interested in a course and you just want to study on your own, great independent study, go and find some cue cards and start practicing some of these steps and tips to help you give great answers. Right now, I'm going to go with the flow because I'm hungry and it's time for lunch. So I will see you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video after lunch. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.